We got a very unique beer to try and digest today. It's a Saison called Triomf Vooruit. I don't know how to say that exactly, but it's from Dupont, the brewer of the classic Belgian Saison. And this is an amber Saison brewed with peat-smoked barley. And that's a really unique thing. I've only had maybe one or two other smoky Saisons, maybe a few more, but it's a style that should be more common, I think, because the phenolic spiciness from smoked malt mixed with the spiciness of the Saison just makes total sense, and kind of the fruitiness I get from a lot of smoked beers comes out a little bit with the extra esters thrown in there by the Saison yeast. So this one, I don't know if this is really still readily available in many places. It's from 2014. It was bottled on the 230th day of 2014. So it's getting on in age, but I mean, these bottle conditioned Saison from Belgium tend to be pretty good. And especially now that they use the brown bottle at Dupont, the green bottles would get skunky like very, very quickly. It's 6% alcohol, so slightly lower than the normal Saison Dupont. Doesn't have the best ratings on the internet because people were probably like, what the hell is going on here? All the other smoked Saisons, I think, used probably beechwood smoked malt or oak. Some flavors that are more woody and kind of, smoked meat, bacony and softer. Peat smoke can be real intense and weird and really very band-aidy. So it's very exciting to see what this is going to be. I don't quite know what's going to happen. Beautiful, perfect, high carbonation bottle conditioning like you expect from Saison Dupont, and quite a bit of head and carbonation because there's probably been a good amount of fermentation happening for the last, almost 2 years in this beer. And you can tell, yeah, it's a pretty straight up amber color. Like, the carbonation is really intense. Hopefully that'll die down a little bit. I had it sitting in the fridge for a day or two, which usually helps, but ooh. Yeah, the peat smoke is there in the nose, even with all these bubbles in the way. And it's just a beautiful, somewhat frothy, creamy head. Ooh, it tastes pretty good. I'm already noticing, just from that foam, how there's a little bit of a kind of berry-ish, maybe toffee malt in there. It's dealing with that peat smoke really well. But it has that classic Scotch, very fruity but intense peat smoke thing happening. It's front and center even after a couple years in the bottle, because I noticed that sometimes I think the smoke can, lessen a little bit in aged beers, but this is coming out very clearly, and we still got some crazy carbonation happening. I'm getting berries, sort of wicker chair, woodsy things happening. I don't really notice too much of the grassy old hop thing, which is very nice. That's not skunky. I don't think they probably brewed this beer to be quite as hop forward as the regular Saison Dupont. And also there's not too much on the clovey black pepper phenols. A little, maybe more clove, because the clove I feel like blends in with that peat smoke aroma. But I'm really enjoying the aroma. It works out pretty well, in my opinion. Oh yes. Yeah, that smokiness is very, very nice, and I like how it's dried out quite a bit. It's not super dry. There's a little bit of sweetness. I think anything with lots of smoke in it, especially a slightly more malt forward beer, smoke and a little bit of sweetness is always really nice. And very refreshing, not very bitter at all. I'm not, at least right now, getting too much of a chalky Saison yeast thing. Seems like the Saison yeast is a little bit subdued, perhaps, or it just blends with the peat-smoked malt so well. But there's, and now I'm getting actually getting some lemony, slight grassy things out of the aroma. Now that I'm kind of getting used to the smoked malt, I can notice some other flavors. Though that was the dominant one quite a bit at first. But I still think it's got some wicker chair, maybe just like really herbal, like it seems like English, it's like an English hopped beer. But the aroma might be where a little bit of that fruity, not quite banana, but maybe pear Saison yeast is coming out more. Yeah, definitely I'm getting that. Some juicy orchard fruit is happening, which is really pleasant. And the flavor is still pretty in-your-face, woodsy, smoky malt. But now, yeah, there's a pear kind of appley thing coming in a little bit more. It's not quite in like banana esters, which I don't really like too much in Saisons. There's some American Saisons that are real big and fruity and are basically just like Imperial Hefeweizens. And this one is not that. It has a little bit of that, and that I think is brought out with the slightly amber sweet malt presence that battles with the peat-smoked malt and all the spiciness. And you can't see how beautiful that head is, but it's getting rocky and retaining its fluff and everything. Let's just see if I can pour a little bit in there without amping the head up, just to make it look real pretty. There we go. Yeah, so you can see it has a little bit of, yeah, actually a solid amount of haze. I can still see through it though. It's translucent, even if you can't see there too much. But that's what you'd expect probably from a bottle conditioned beer, but there's some rocky, beautiful things on top. But I mean, this is just what you expect. If it's Dupont beer, it's going to be bottle conditioned so perfectly. And honestly, the really high carbonation isn't bringing it down. There's still enough body and sweetness that it's not just like too spritzery on the mouth. I'm still noticing all the smoked malt, and it's just blending with the spiciness and the fruitiness of the yeast so well. And it's so light and airy on the tongue, but with just a little bit of a toffee sweetness. It blends into apple and pear. And at first that smoke is overwhelming, and with each sip you get more of it. But I'm still able to notice all the other flavors. Definitely to my taste. Very unique, special beer. I have to give this one like an 87. Like it's weird. I've been rating some really great hoppy beers around 87 that are, I guess, I don't want to say they're harder to make than this beer, because it's difficult to make a Saison that's really this great, and especially make a really great smoked one. Well, this is just more unique. There aren't too many beers like this out there, and I think I should give it the 87 score. I don't find any flaws. There's nothing wrong with this. It's aged beautifully, even though this isn't necessarily a style that I would think to age too much. They didn't use too much hops in it. There's no skunkiness. Yeah. It's not going to be for everyone. You got to love Saisons, traditional bottle conditioned Saisons, and you got to love the peat-smoked malt. If you like Scotch and Saisons, you'll probably like this beer. But if you think a Saison needs to be something that's pale and just fruits and herbs and nothing too much more than that, maybe you won't. But let's do 87 for Saison Dupont Triomf Vooruit. Smoked amber Saison. Goodbye.